The Oracle of Omaha, known for his investing expertise, has been keeping a careful eye on the financial markets and has given a grave warning about impending inflation in 2023. Somebody of his status would not normally be expected to publicly comment on the state of the economy, so when he does, people should listen up and be ready. In this video, we will discuss Warren Buffett's thoughts on the impending inflation in 2023. So be sure to stick around till the end. Inflation is wreaking havoc on the American economy, with prices for everything from gasoline to groceries skyrocketing. People have little control over inflation at the cash register, but Berkshire Hathaway CEO and famed investor Warren Buffett believe that people may take steps to mitigate its consequences. Buffett reaffirmed his long-held belief that being at the forefront of one sector is one of the best ways to hedge against inflation. When he addressed the Berkshire Hathaway shareholders at the company's annual meeting in 2022, the 91-year-old said, "The greatest thing you can do is to be extraordinarily brilliant at something." Buffett also said, "People are going to give you part of what they create in return for what you supply," using the medical and legal fields as examples. Buffett also added, "Unlike money, one's abilities are not subject to inflation. Having marketable skills will always be valuable regardless the state of the economy. You can't lose the skills you've already acquired," he said. "They can't be inflated away from you," he said. "There is no tax on everything you create, making self-development the greatest possible investment." This is also comparable to the guidance Buffett gave at the end of the Great Recession in 2009 when he was 78 years old and said, "The greatest thing to do is invest in yourself." The next best option, Buffett said, was to put money into a magnificent firm that produces products that will always be in demand, no matter what happens to the value of the dollar. He used the example of Coca-Cola and said that people would still desire his preferred beverage many years into the future, regardless of the effect of inflation. According to Buffett, it makes no difference what happens to the price level, as consumers will always pay for what they value. Warren, however, has warned of inflation in the United States as the economy recovers red hot from the worst of the coronavirus outbreak in 2023. Due to raw material shortages and strong savings among individuals who retained their employment while being prevented from spending on items like vacations, Buffett said his portfolio firms were seeing very large inflation in a variety of areas. Buffett and his trusted advisor, Charlie Munger, had a long discussion in which they took aim at what they saw to be over-exuberance in the financial markets, including Bitcoin, so-called SPAC investment vehicles, and the share trading app Robinhood. If you believe the Bloomberg Billionaires Index, Buffett has a net worth of $104 billion, making him the wealthiest investor in the world. Berkshire Hathaway, his investment firm, has holdings in several different industries and companies, from technology giant Apple to railroads to battery manufacturer Duracell to ice cream fast food chain Dairy Queen. Economists across the globe are keeping a tight eye on the U.S. economy for any indications of overheating, so Buffett's view on inflation will be carefully scrutinized by them. Global recessions in 2020 were triggered by coronavirus lockdowns. However, massive monetary stimulus measures and loosening of restrictions are projected to spark a speedy economic rebound. Asset values may be negatively affected if the Federal Reserve, the U.S. Central Bank, decide to increase interest rates in response to signs of rising inflation. Buffett has spoken out against the Robinhood share trading app because of its 0% fee structure, claiming it encourages younger customers to treat their money like gambling chips rather than serious investment. At the start of the year, Robinhood was at the epicenter of a stock trading frenzy as ordinary investors poured into meme stocks like video game company GameStop. Both Buffett and Charlie Munger have criticized the proliferation of bank check organizations that generate capital in order to acquire privately held businesses, known as special purpose acquisition firms, SPAC firms skyrocketed in popularity in 2020, prompting hundreds of firms to seek public offerings. However, some analysts worry that this trend is indicative of a developing stock market bubble caused by easy access to capital. Munger warned that quick cash being made by SPAC investors might lead to terrible issues with civilization, calling SPACs a moral failure. Munger has also expressed his distaste for the popularity of the cryptocurrency Bitcoin, calling it helpful to kidnappers and extortionists, because it was a financial commodity manufactured out of thin air, and he called it disgusting and contrary to the interest of civilization. When asked about Berkshire Hathaway's continued investment in Chevron and other significant energy corporations, including the United States oil supermajor, Buffett defended the firm's position. According to Buffett, Chevron is not a bad corporation in the least, and I have no concern about owning Chevron, adding that those who are on the extremes of both sides are a bit nutty when it comes to climate change catastrophe. There is increasing unanimity among the world's top investors that climate disclosures should be made by all corporations as a first step in solving the climate catastrophe. But Berkshire Hathaway has fought shareholder resolutions asking for it to publish its own climate risks. Some investors, including CalPERS, Federated Hermes, and Caisse de dépôt et placement du Québec, have recommended mandating that Berkshire provide yearly reports detailing its response to the climate challenge. After Buffett and other directors voted against their plan, it received a quarter of the votes, indicating rising anger among Berkshire Hathaway's shareholders. Another proposal garnered 24% of the vote that called for stepped-up initiatives to foster diversity inside the organization. Berkshire Hathaway had a rough year in 2022, in part because of the problems experienced by airlines and aircraft manufacturers. The stock prices rose by 2.4%, which is behind the S&P 500's 18.4% return as a whole, but still respectable. However, thanks to a market upswing in Q1 2022, it posted a profit of $11.7 billion. As it seeks fresh investments, the corporation has a cash pile of $145.4 billion, up 5% from the first quarter. Despite the fact that inflation is at an all-time high right now, Warren Buffett shares some tips on how to overcome inflation in 2023. How to beat inflation, according to Warren Buffett. With prices on the increase, it's worth reviewing some of Buffett's finest advice for dealing with what he famously called a gigantic corporate tapeworm. Number 1, invest in good businesses with low capital needs. Buffett has long argued that investors should prioritize enterprises that provide strong returns on capital. Companies that can keep their profits steady with relatively little investment of capital should do better during periods of high inflation than those that need to spend more money at ever greater prices to maintain their position. Number 2, look for companies that can raise prices during periods of higher inflation. When asked about the importance of several factors in determining a company's value, Buffett told the Financial Crisis Inquiry Commission that pricing power was the most crucial one. You're in a strong position to increase prices without fear of losing customers to the competition, and your company is successful overall. A company that is able to raise prices during times of high inflation has a distinct edge since it can cover its own rising expenses. Buffett recently claimed that in an inflationary society, the ability to increase tolls on a previously completed bridge without government oversight would be the best asset one could have. If you construct a bridge with pre-current exchange rate currency, you won't have to constantly replace it, he said. Number 3, invest in yourself and be the best at what you do. Buffett advised his shareholders that investing in one's own skills was a good strategy to ensure future wealth. The top surgeon or attorney in a town or city may have had to pay for their studies with old money, but they can still charge competitive rates since they haven't had to retrain. If you want to stand out from the crowd, Add some new skills to your CV by taking classes at a community college or learning something new online. Even though earning a graduate degree might be costly, it can increase your skill set and make you more valuable to your employer in the long run. Raising your worth to your company and its clients will allow you to negotiate a higher salary. It would be unwise to dismiss Warren Buffett's grave inflation prediction as mere exaggeration. To avoid the negative consequences of hyperinflation and rapidly increasing prices, we must act immediately. Our financial future depends on our ability to invest properly, save wisely, and plan ahead. Let us take the advice of one of the world's most successful investors today and brace ourselves for the rough year that is 2023.